The unseen escape. The air above Mustafar shimmered with heat, the molten rivers casting an eerie glow as Anakin Skywalker's rage consumed him. His lightsaber clashed with Obi-Wan Kenobi's, sparks flying like dying stars. But in the chaos, a shadow stirred. Padmé Amidala, her white gown singed and torn, lay crumpled near the landing platform, her breaths shallow yet defiant. The galaxy believed her dead, struck down by the man she loved, but fate had other plans. As Obi-Wan disarmed Anakin and left him to the lava's embrace, he turned back, his eyes catching the faint rise of her chest. "Padmé," he whispered, rushing to her side. Her eyes fluttered open, a spark of hope amidst the despair. "Anakin," she rasped, her voice breaking with pain and confusion. Obi-Wan shook his head, his face etched with sorrow. "He's gone, Padmé, but you're not." Little did he know, this moment would ripple through the galaxy, a secret that could topple empires or doom them. He carried her to the medical bay of his ship, the hum of engines a stark contrast to the silence of her fading strength. The droids worked swiftly, their mechanical arms stitching and stabilizing as Obi-Wan watched, his Jedi calm fracturing. Padmé's mind swirled with fragmented memories, Anakin's anguished cries, the betrayal on Mustafar, the twins she'd borne in secret. She touched her abdomen, a hollow ache where life once grew. "The babies," she murmured. Obi-Wan's gaze softened. "They're safe. Luke is with Owen on Tatooine. Leia is with Bail on Alderaan. You must rest." But rest eluded her. The Empire was rising, and with it, the shadow of the man she'd lost. Had she failed him, or had he chosen this path long before she saw the signs? Days bled into weeks as Padmé recovered on a remote moon, its barren landscape a mirror to her soul. The small shelter Obi-Wan had found her was sparse, a cot, a table, a window overlooking twin suns that reminded her of Tatooine. She spent hours staring out, her mind racing with thoughts of her children. Luke with his father's eyes, hidden among the sands. Leia with her mother's spirit, cradled by royalty. The separation tore at her, but a new resolve hardened within. She couldn't stay hidden forever. The Empire's grip tightened, and with each report Obi-Wan brought, Jedi hunted, world subjugated, she felt the weight of inaction. Anakin's fall haunted her every step. Was he still in there, beneath the mask of Darth Vader? Or was he lost forever? One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, a transmission crackled through the shelter's comlink. Bail Organa's voice, urgent and low, broke the silence. "Padmé, we need you. The rebellion is forming. Whispers of resistance grow, but we lack leadership. Will you fight?" Her hands trembled as she gripped the device, her breath catching. Fight? Against the empire her husband had helped build? The thought churned her stomach, a mix of grief and fury. Yet, the image of Luke and Leia, their future at stake, pushed her forward. She nodded to herself, unaware that this choice would unravel secrets even Obi-Wan couldn't foresee. "I'll come," she said, her voice steady despite the storm within. But where and how? The details remained a mystery, teasing her resolve. She packed a small bag, her movements deliberate. A blaster, a hollow of her wedding day, a cloak to hide her face, each item a thread to her past. Slipping into the night, she left the shelter, the cool air a stark contrast to Mustafar's heat. A smuggler ship awaited, arranged by Bail, its pilot a grizzled man with a scar across his cheek. He eyed her suspiciously as she boarded. "You're no ordinary passenger," he muttered, his voice rough. Padmé forced a smile, pulling her hood lower. "Just get me to the rendezvous," she replied, her mind elsewhere. She didn't elaborate, but her thoughts churned. If Anakin learned she lived, would he hunt her down? Or could she reach the part of him still buried beneath the dark side? The pilot grunted, firing up the engines, and the ship lurched into the stars. Hyperspace enveloped them, the streaking lights a blur outside the viewport. Padmé sat in silence, her hands clasped tightly. The pilot glanced back, curiosity in his gaze. "Heard rumors," he said. "Some say Vader's wife didn't die. Crazy talk, huh?" Her heart skipped, but she kept her face neutral. "Crazy indeed," she murmured, turning away. The words lingered, a shadow of doubt. Had the Empire sensed her survival? Or was this just the smuggler's imagination? She couldn't shake the feeling that eyes, Vader's eyes, watched from afar. The ship hummed, carrying her toward an uncertain fate, and with it, the weight of a galaxy's hope. As they neared the rendezvous, the pilot's comm beeped. A garbled message, too faint to decipher, made him frown. "Trouble," he muttered, adjusting controls. Padmé tensed, peering out. A faint silhouette, a star destroyer, loomed on the edge of the system. Her breath caught. Was it coincidence, or had Vader's reach extended here? She gripped her blaster, her mind racing. The pilot cursed, veering off course. "We're not landing yet," he said. "Too hot." Padmé nodded, her thoughts a whirlwind. If the Empire was close, did they know? Had Obi-Wan's secrecy failed? The ship dodged asteroids, the destroyer fading from view, but the question burned. Was she walking into a trap or a chance to reclaim her destiny? Hours later, they touched down on a dusty planet, its surface scarred by war. Padmé stepped out, her hood pulled low, as Bail Organa emerged from the shadows. His relief was palpable, but caution laced his words. "You're a ghost, Padmé," he said, his voice hushed. "The Empire believes you're dead. We must keep it that way." She nodded, her eyes scanning the makeshift base, a hive of activity with rebels arming blasters and plotting strategies. But something felt off. Whispers followed her, eyes lingered too long. Was it her past as a senator or the shadow of Vader that clung to her name? Bail led her inside, but her mind stayed on the destroyer. Had it been a warning or a promise? Shadows of the Rebellion. The smuggler ship shuddered as it dropped out of hyperspace, revealing a dusty planet scarred by war. Padmé Amidala stepped onto the landing pad, her hood pulled low to shield her face from prying eyes. The air was thick with the scent of blaster residue and desperation. Bail Organa emerged from the shadows, his expression a mix of relief and caution. "You're a ghost, Padmé," he said, his voice hushed as he clasped her arm. "The Empire believes you're dead. We must keep it that way." She nodded, her gaze sweeping the makeshift rebel base, a hive of activity with fighters arming blasters and strategists hunched over holomaps. But something felt off. Whispers trailed her like a shadow, and eyes lingered too long. Was it her past as a senator, or the specter of Darth Vader that clung to her name? Bail led her through the crowded corridors, his steps quick but measured. "The rebellion needs you," he murmured. "Your knowledge of the Senate could guide us." Padmé's mind raced. She knew the Empire's inner workings, Anakin's tactics, Palpatine's schemes, better than most. Yet, the thought of using that knowledge against the man she'd loved gnawed at her. They entered a war room where Mon Mothma and a young pilot, Han Solo, debated their next move. Han leaned back, a smirk on his face. "We've got a shot at an Imperial convoy, fat with supplies." Mon Mothma frowned, her hands clasped tightly. "Risky, but necessary. Padmé, your insight could turn the tide." Padmé stepped forward, her voice trembling slightly. "Target their supply lines, not their strength. Force them to weaken." The room fell silent, her words hanging like a challenge. Did they see a leader or Vader's wife? The question lingered, unanswered, as Mon nodded slowly. Later, alone in a cramped quarters, Padmé sank onto a cot, her mind replaying Mustafar's horrors. The heat, the screams, Obi-Wan's desperate pleas. Had she misjudged Anakin? A knock jolted her back. A rebel scout, pale and shaken, stood at the door. "We picked up a signal," he stammered. "A Star Destroyer's close. They might know you're here." Padmé's heart sank. How? Had Vader sensed her through the Force? She grabbed her blaster, her resolve hardening. If the Empire came, she'd fight, not just for the rebellion, but for the truth about her husband. The scout hesitated. "Orders?" She met his gaze. "Prepare defenses. We hold until we know more." He nodded and darted off, leaving her alone with her thoughts. As alarms blared, Padmé joined the rebels on the front lines. Blaster fire lit the night, TIE fighters screeching overhead. She ducked behind a crate, her mind racing. Was this Vader's doing or a coincidence? The thought gnawed at her. If he knew she lived, would he come himself or send others to drag her back? She fired at a swooping fighter, her shots precise but her heart unsteady. A rebel beside her fell, and she dragged him to safety, her hands stained with dust and blood. "Hold the line!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. But inside, she wondered, was her survival a beacon of hope or a death sentence for them all? The battle raged, the ground trembling under Imperial bombardment. Padmé's blaster grew hot as she picked off stormtroopers, her movements fueled by instinct. A shadow loomed, a figure in black armor, too far to confirm. Her breath caught. Vader? She squinted, but the figure vanished into the smoke. Was it him or her imagination playing tricks? The rebels pushed back, their morale bolstered by her presence, but doubt crept in. If Vader was near, why hadn't he struck? Was he testing her, or had the signal been a false alarm? The uncertainty kept her on edge, her pulse thundering. As the fighting slowed, Mon Mothma approached, her face grim. "You fought well, but the destroyer's still out there. We need to move." Padmé nodded, her mind churning. "We can't run forever. We need a plan." Mon's eyes narrowed. "Can we trust you with that, Padmé? Your past?" The words stung, but she held her ground. "My past is why I'm here." Mon studied her, then relented. "Very well. We strike back. Tomorrow." Padmé agreed, but as she walked away, a chill settled in. Had the Empire let them win this round, or was Vader biding his time? That night, Padmé sat with Bail, reviewing holomaps. "The convoy's our target," he said. "But if Vader's close—" She cut him off. "He won't find me. Not yet." But as she spoke, a shadow crossed her mind. What if Vader's silence meant he was already searching? The rebellion buzzed with preparations, but Padmé felt the weight of her past closing in. Was she leading them to victory or to ruin? The question haunted her, a mystery she couldn't unravel. As she drifted to sleep, the sound of Vader's breathing echoed in her dreams, a promise of things to come. Echoes of the past. The battle subsided, leaving behind smoldering ruins and a tense, heavy silence that pressed against Padmé Amidala's chest. She stood amidst the rebels, her blaster still warm in her hands, its barrel smoking faintly in the dim light. The air was thick with the scent of burnt metal and ozone, a grim reminder of the fight they just endured. Mon Mothma approached, her face etched with a mix of admiration and unease. "You held your own out there," she said, her tone measured, almost cautious. "But questions linger. Can we trust you, Padmé?" The words struck like a blaster bolt, sharp and unexpected. Padmé met her gaze, her heart pounding beneath her cloak. Trust? After Mustafar? After Anakin? She nodded, forcing her expression to remain steady, but the doubt in Mon's eyes lingered like a shadow. Was it her past that fueled their suspicion, or the ghost of Vader that haunted her every step? That night, Padmé retreated to her cramped quarters, the weight of the day pressing down on her. She sank onto the cot, her mind a whirlwind of memories. The heat of Mustafar, the screams that still echoed in her dreams, Obi-Wan's desperate pleas as he pulled her from the brink. Had she misjudged Anakin all those years? Had her love blinded her to the darkness growing within him? A holocron flickered to life on the table, its blue glow casting eerie patterns on the walls. Obi-Wan's voice crackled through, weary but firm. "Padmé, stay hidden. Vader's rage grows. He mustn't find you." The message looped, a warning she couldn't ignore. But hiding wasn't an option anymore, not with the rebellion counting on her, not with the Empire's shadow creeping closer. The next morning, a new mission loomed. Bail Organa briefed her in the war room, his face lined with worry. "We've located a derelict Imperial outpost," he said, pointing to a hollow map. "Abandoned, but its databanks might hold secrets, supply routes, weaknesses. We need you to lead the team." Padmé nodded, her mind already strategizing. Her knowledge of the Senate and its ties to the Empire could turn the tide. She gathered a small squad, Han Solo, a sharp-eyed scout named Kor, and a few others, and set out under cover of dusk. The outpost loomed ahead, a skeletal structure against the horizon, its silence unnerving. As they breached the outer defenses, Padmé's senses sharpened. Something felt wrong.
Inside, the air was stale, the corridors littered with debris. Padmé led the way to the databanks, her blaster at the ready. The hum of machinery filled the space as she accessed the terminal, her fingers dancing over the controls. Schematics flashed across the screen, Imperial weapons, troop movements, a project codenamed Kyber Ascendancy. Her breath caught. Anakin had spoken of Kyber crystals, their power in the Force. Was this his work? Before she could dig deeper, a familiar sound sliced through the silence, a lightsaber's hum. She spun around, and there stood an Inquisitor, his red blade glowing like a predator's eye. "The Emperor's wife," he sneered, his voice dripping with malice. "Vader will be pleased." Padmé's heart lurched. Was this a trap? Had Vader sent him? She ducked as the Inquisitor lunged, her blaster firing in rapid succession. The shots ricocheted off his armor, and he countered with a force push that sent her crashing into a console. Pain flared through her shoulder, but she rolled to her feet, adrenaline surging. Han and Kor opened fire, their blasters lighting up the dark. The Inquisitor moved with uncanny speed, his blade a blur, but Padmé noticed a pattern, a slight pause before each strike. Was it a weakness or a feint? She signaled Han to flank him, her mind racing. If Vader knew she lived, why send an underling? Or was this a test of her resolve?
The skirmish intensified, the outpost trembling with each clash. Padmé dodged a swipe, her blaster grazing the Inquisitor's arm. He snarled, retreating into the shadows, leaving behind a data chip that clattered to the floor. She snatched it up, her hands shaking as she plugged it into the terminal. Images flashed, Anakin's transformation, his screams as the suit encased him, the cold precision of Palpatine's oversight. Then a voice, Palpatine's, smooth and sinister. "She lives, Lord Vader. Shall we hunt her?" Silence followed, a void that stretched too long. The chip cut off before Vader's response, leaving Padmé breathless. Did he know? Or was this a deliberate omission, a test of her faith in him? She pocketed the chip, her resolve hardening like Durasteel. This was leverage, proof of the Empire's vulnerabilities, maybe even a crack in Vader's armor. Back at base, Bail confronted her in the war room, his face pale. "That chip could expose us all," he warned, his voice low. "If Vader learns you're alive." Padmé cut him off, her tone firm. "He won't, not yet." But as she spoke, a shadow crossed her mind. What if Vader's silence meant he was already searching? The rebellion buzzed with plans, rebels sharpening blades and calibrating cannons, but Padmé felt the weight of her past closing in. Was she leading them to victory or to ruin? That night, she sat alone, the chip in her hands, its cold surface a stark contrast to her racing thoughts. She replayed the Inquisitor's words, the sneer in his voice. Had Vader ordered this, or was Palpatine playing a deeper game, using her as bait? She activated the holocron again, Obi-Wan's warning looping once more. Stay hidden. But hiding felt like cowardice now. The rebellion needed her, and she needed answers. She traced the chip's edge, her mind drifting to Anakin. Had he sensed her survival through the Force? Or was his silence a sign he'd moved on, leaving her to fight alone? A knock broke her reverie. Kor stood at the door, his face grim. "Scans picked up movement," he said. "Another destroyer, closer this time." Padmé's heart sank. How? Had the Inquisitor reported back? She joined the scouts, peering at the holo display. The ship's signature was faint but unmistakable. Was Vader aboard, or was this another decoy? The base went on alert, rebels scrambling to reinforce defenses. Padmé stood tall, but inside, doubt gnawed. If Vader came, would she face him as an enemy, or as the wife who still believed in his soul? As the night deepened, she returned to the databanks, replaying the chip's footage. The image of Anakin's transformation haunted her. His screams, the mask sealing his fate. Palpatine's voice echoed again. "Shall we hunt her?" The silence that followed was deafening. Did Vader hesitate, or was he already planning her capture? She shut it off, her hands trembling. The rebellion's future hinged on her next move, but so did her past. Was she ready to confront the man Vader had become? Or would this path lead to a reckoning she couldn't survive? The question lingered, a mystery wrapped in the shadows of her own heart. The heart of the fight. Weeks slipped by, each day blending into the next as Padmé Amidala's role in the rebellion solidified. Her quarters, though cramped, had become a hub of strategy. Holomaps sprawled across the table, her voice guiding rebel commanders through the Empire's labyrinthine defenses. Her knowledge of Senate protocols and Anakin's tactical mind turned battles in their favor. Supply lines disrupted, convoys ambushed with precision. But the data chip, tucked into a hidden pocket, burned against her skin, a constant reminder of the man Darth Vader had become. Each night, she traced its edges, wondering if its secrets could save them or destroy her. The rebellion thrived under her leadership, yet a shadow lingered, a question she couldn't shake. Was her survival a gift or a curse? One evening, as the base hummed with quiet preparation, a transmission crackled through her comlink. A young voice, fierce yet uncertain, broke the silence. "Mother?" Padmé froze, the holo projector slipping from her hands. "Leia, how?" Her heart raced as Bail Organa burst in, his face pale with panic. "She found an old holo of you," he stammered, "in the Alderaan archives. She's asking questions." Padmé's breath caught, her mind reeling. If Leia sought her, would Vader follow the trail? She sank onto the cot, recording a message with trembling hands. "Stay safe, my daughter. I'll find you," she whispered, her voice breaking. She sent it, unaware if it would reach Leia, or if it would draw unwanted attention. Was this a connection to mend, or a beacon for the Empire? The next mission loomed large, a strike on an Imperial research facility rumored to house new weapons. Padmé led the team, her blaster steady at her side, though her thoughts churned with Leia's voice. The facility's corridors were cold, sterile, filled with the hum of machinery. She accessed a terminal, uncovering schematics, devices powered by kyber crystals, their designs eerily familiar. Anakin's voice echoed in her memory, soft and eager, speaking of the Force's power. Was this his handiwork? Before she could process it, a shadow fell across the room. A figure emerged, Darth Vader, his armored form towering, his breathing a mechanical dirge that shattered her resolve. "Padmé," he rasped, the word heavy with emotion she couldn't decipher. She stumbled back, her blaster shaking in her grip. Was this real or a trick of her mind? Vader stepped closer, his hand outstretched, the red glow of his lightsaber casting shadows on the walls. "You live," he said, his voice a mix of awe and accusation. Padmé's heart pounded. Had he known all along, or was this a chance encounter, a cruel twist of fate? Rebels opened fire, their blasters lighting up the space, and chaos erupted. Vader deflected the shots with ease, his focus locked on her. She ducked behind a console, her mind racing. Was this the moment to use the schematic's weakness, the flaw only Anakin would know? Or would it cost her everything? The fight intensified, blaster bolts and lightsaber strikes filling the air. Padmé signaled Han to flank, her movements precise despite the turmoil within. She noticed a hesitation in Vader's stance, a flicker that mirrored the Anakin she'd loved. Was he holding back, or was this a feint to lure her closer? She fired at the joint in his armor, the spot the schematics had marked, and Vader staggered, a grunt escaping his mask. The rebels pressed the advantage, their shouts mingling with the clash of combat. Padmé's chest tightened. Was this working, or was he letting her believe she had the upper hand? The uncertainty gnawed at her, a mystery she couldn't unravel. As the skirmish raged, she edged closer, her blaster still raised. "Anakin, come back to me," she cried, her voice raw with desperation. The words seemed to pierce the air, and Vader faltered again. His breathing grew ragged, the mechanical rhythm uneven, and his lightsaber dipped slightly. Was the man she loved still there, buried beneath the dark side? Or was this another illusion, a trap to break her spirit? She stepped forward, tears blurring her vision. But before she could reach him, an explosion rocked the facility. Debris flew, forcing her to shield her face as Vader retreated into the smoke. Had he fled, or was he regrouping? Back at base, Padmé pored over the schematics, her hands trembling as she isolated the flaw, a power relay vulnerable to concentrated fire. She briefed the team, her voice steady despite the storm within. "We strike here," she said, pointing to the relay. "It'll cripple their weapons." The rebels nodded, their confidence bolstered, but as they prepared, a shadow loomed outside. A Star Destroyer hovered overhead, its presence a silent threat. Padmé's heart sank. Was Vader aboard, coming for her? Or was this the Empire's response to their raid? The base buzzed with activity, defenses raised, but her mind drifted to Leia. Had her message reached her daughter or drawn Vader's wrath? That night, she sat alone, the schematics glowing softly on the table. The encounter with Vader replayed in her mind, his voice, his hesitation, the way he'd spoken her name. Had he sensed Leia through the Force, or was Palpatine manipulating them both? She activated the data chip again, the image of Anakin's transformation flashing before her. His screams, the mask sealing his fate, it tore at her soul. Was there still hope for him, or had she lost him forever? The Star Destroyer's silhouette loomed outside, a constant reminder of the danger closing in. Was she leading the rebellion to victory or walking them into a trap? The question lingered, a shadow she couldn't escape. As dawn approached, a scout burst in, his face pale. "Movement from the destroyer," he gasped, "shuttles deploying." Padmé grabbed her blaster, her resolve hardening. If Vader came, she'd face him, not just as a rebel, but as the woman who still believed in Anakin's heart. The base prepared for the assault, blasters charged, defenses manned. But inside, doubt gnawed. Had her survival ignited a war she couldn't win? Or was this the chance to reclaim her family and her galaxy? The answer remained out of reach, teasing the edges of her courage as the first shuttles touched down. The unseen reckoning. The Star Destroyer loomed overhead, its massive silhouette swallowing the faint light of the rebel base below. The air thrummed with tension as Padmé Amidala stood at the forefront, her blaster gripped tightly in her hands. The rebels around her, scarred veterans and wide-eyed recruits, looked to her with a mix of hope and fear, their faces illuminated by the flickering glow of emergency lights. "We fight for our future," she called out, her voice cutting through the chaos like a beacon. "For Luke, for Leia, for the galaxy we dream of." The words rallied their spirits, but as blasters roared and the first TIE fighter screamed through the sky, a deeper dread settled in her chest. This wasn't just another skirmish. Something, or someone, was coming. The ground shook as a shuttle descended, its black hull gleaming under the dim lights. The ramp lowered, and there he was, Darth Vader, his armored form a towering menace. His breathing, that mechanical rasp, filled the air like a death knell, sending a shiver down Padmé's spine. She stepped forward, her heart pounding, the blaster trembling slightly in her grip. The rebels faltered, their courage wavering under his gaze. "Anakin," she whispered, the name slipping out before she could stop it. Vader paused, his masked head tilting ever so slightly. Was that a flicker of recognition, or just the wind playing tricks on her mind? She couldn't tell, and that uncertainty gnawed at her. "Why?" Vader's voice rasped, low and guttural, the single word heavy with unspoken questions. Why was she here? Why did she fight? Why did she live? Padmé's eyes narrowed, tears welling but not falling. "For our children," she said, her voice breaking with a mix of grief and resolve. "For what you've lost." The words struck like a blaster bolt, and for a moment, Vader seemed to waver. His gloved hand twitched, as if reaching for something long forgotten. Was it the Anakin she loved, buried beneath the dark side? Or was this another of his manipulations? She raised her blaster, her finger hovering over the trigger, torn between love and duty. The duel erupted without warning. Vader ignited his crimson lightsaber, the red glow casting eerie shadows across the battlefield. Padmé fired, her shots deflected with ease as he advanced. Rebels joined the fray, their blasters lighting up the night, but Vader's power was overwhelming. He swept through them, his blade a blur, yet his focus remained on her. Padmé ducked and weaved, her mind racing. She remembered the schematic's weakness, the power relay vulnerable to concentrated fire. Was this the moment to use it, or would it cost her everything? She aimed at the joint in his armor, her shot striking true, and Vader staggered, a grunt escaping his mask. "Come back to me!" she cried, her voice raw with desperation. The words seemed to pierce the chaos, and Vader faltered again. His breathing grew ragged, the mechanical rhythm uneven, and his lightsaber dipped slightly. Was the man she loved still there, or was this a trick to lure her closer? She stepped forward, tears blurring her vision, but before she could reach him, a transmission crackled through the comms. "Mother, I'm coming!" Leia's voice, young but fierce, filled the air. Padmé's breath caught, her gaze darting to Vader. He froze, his saber dropping an inch. Did he sense her? The daughter he didn't know he had? His head turned slightly, a low growl escaping him. Was this a moment of truth or a trap? In that split second, Padmé lunged. She fired again at the relay, disarming him as his lightsaber clattered to the ground. The rebels cheered, but Padmé's focus remained on Vader. He knelt, his massive frame trembling, and with a crack, his mask split along the seam. A glimpse of scarred flesh and haunted eyes met her gaze. Anakin, or what was left of him. "Padmé, our daughter," he rasped, his voice a shadow of the man she once knew. Tears streamed down her face. Was this redemption or a final deception? Before she could respond, the Star Destroyer's cannons roared, shaking the ground. Debris flew as rebels scattered, and Vader rose, his mask half broken but his intent clear.
He force-pushed Padmé back, sending her crashing into a crate. Pain flared through her body, but she struggled to her feet, her blaster still in hand. Was he protecting her or buying time? Imperial troops spilled from the shuttles, their blasters firing, and the battle reignited. Padmé ducked behind cover, her mind racing. Had Leia's message drawn her into danger, or was this Vader's way of testing her resolve? The answer remained elusive, teasing the edges of her courage.
As the fight wore on, a shuttle touched down and a figure emerged, Leia, her blaster drawn, her eyes wide with determination. "Mother!" she shouted, rushing toward Padmé. Padmé's heart leapt, but fear gripped her. If Vader saw her, would he turn on his own daughter? She waved Leia back, shouting, "Stay down!" Vader turned, his gaze locking onto Leia. For a moment, he stilled, his breathing uneven. Was he recognizing her or calculating his next move? The tension hung thick, a mystery wrapped in the smoke of battle. Padmé seized the moment, firing at the Imperial troops to cover Leia's retreat. Vader advanced, his force pulling debris to shield himself, but his movements were slower, hesitant. Was he conflicted, or was this a ruse? She couldn't tell, and the uncertainty fueled her desperation. "Anakin, stop this!" she pleaded, her voice breaking. He paused, his head tilting, but before he could respond, an explosion rocked the area, forcing them apart. Padmé grabbed Leia, pulling her into a bunker as the Star Destroyer's shadow deepened. Was this the end, or a new beginning? The question lingered, unanswered, as the battle raged on.